rivalry between the marsupial mammals and the placental mammals began, but it stretches back at least 100 million years. The earliest marsupial fossils discovered point to the northern hemisphere, not Australia as the cradle of marsupial evolution. This stretch of badlands in central Utah is Robber's Roost, where the infamous Butch Cassidy often hid from the law. Paleontologists have long hunted other renegades here, the great dinosaurs. But University of Oklahoma paleontologist Richard Cifelli has come here in search of much smaller game, some no bigger than the head of a pin.
You'd think it rained crocodiles here or something.
It's a needle in a haystack business and back-breaking work. Cifelli and his team haul gunny sacks full of sediment back to camp, where their work looks more like prospecting for gold than digging up fossils. They must first soak the hard rock deposits in water, sifting out the tiny fossils and drying them in the hot desert sun. The casual observer might think they were sluicing for the glint of precious metals or gems. But their painstaking work does produce gems of a sort. It was here, in 1992, that Cifelli found the world's oldest known marsupial.
Here in my left hand is the lower jaw of this thing we're calling Cocopelia. It's a marsupial or proto-marsupial, maybe a mouse-sized animal. Probably would have looked like a Virginia opossum shrunk way down to mouse size. This animal is about 100 million years old, so it was living during the age of dinosaurs and living in the footsteps of giants, literally. There were a lot of pretty fierce predators around at that time, so not a good place to be if you're a furry little creature.
For another 35 million years, the world would remain a dangerous place for the little mammals living underfoot of the dinosaur. But then the dinosaurs died out. Mammals had free reign of the planet, and they took it. The starting gun sounded for the race between the pouched mammals and the unpouched mammals. Their fates would be dictated by their distinctive strategies for reproducing, and the deck seemed stacked against the marsupials.
Marsupials are primitive in that they are forced to give birth very soon after conception, within a matter of a week, couple weeks, say. This is because the young is not genetically identical with the mom, and so as it develops, the mom's immune system recognizes it as an alien and has to get rid of it. So birth takes place very, very quickly. Placentals have invented this fancy system of embryonic membranes that pretty much insulates junior from mom and allows prolonged intrauterine development. And that's critical to the success of placental mammals.
Most importantly, the brain can grow larger in a womb than in a pouch, giving placentals an edge in intelligence and allowing them to create more sophisticated social systems. Placentals were able to specialize physiologically as well, which allowed them to diversify and fill varied ecological niches.
Marsupials never were able to specialize into things that placentals did in terms of having really strongly modified forelimbs, flippers, for instance, or flying-type wings like bats have. If you're going to modify those forelimbs, you have to start very early in development. Marsupials can't do that because they're forced to have these forelimbs developed in a certain way so they can climb and get into the pouch.
Despite what may seem like handicaps, the marsupials clearly had the upper hand in the southern parts of the world.
Marsupials really took off on the continents of Australia and South America, And we find all these tremendous examples of convergent evolution, that is, marsupials doing the same things that placentals were doing on other continents. For example, in South America, there was a marsupial saber-tooth, looked for all the world like a placental saber-tooth, and this is a large lion-sized animal with canine teeth, the fangs that could have been 6 or 7 inches long. Clearly a major predator there. There were gigantic grizzly bear-sized boar hyenoids that probably were partly carnivorous to omnivorous, basically eat whatever they wanted to.
The marsupial killers stayed top dog in South America for some 60 million years. But by 2 million years ago, the big predatory marsupials of South America had all but disappeared, outcompeted by the likes of the new placental saber-toothed cats and great bears. These newcomers traveled to South America across the newly formed land bridge now connecting the continents. For many decades, biologists saw a clear implication in this succession. The superior placentals had driven the inferior marsupials to extinction. It was justifiable fratricide in the best Darwinian tradition. But now, a new, more ominous creature was about to appear on the scene and overturn decades of scientific belief. At Riversley, the fossils are revealing a marsupial past that belies their gentle image. Michael Archer has pieced together a portrait of a vicious predator reborn from Australia's past. Standing about 5 feet tall and burlier than today's kangaroos, these sharp-toothed killers probably snacked on their more docile relatives. The modern kangaroo is not the only living marsupial with a skeleton in the closet. The sluggish vegetarian wombat has its own bloodthirsty ancient cousin.
Among the other sorts of spectacular types of flesh-eating animals that developed in Australia, marsupials, were these marsupial lions, aptly named pouched animals that were, at their larger size, the size of a fully grown adult lion. Incredible things. And studies of the teeth of these animals have demonstrated that they are more specialized as carnivores than any other mammal has ever been anywhere at any time in the world. They had, much like the carnivorous kangaroos did, they probably used their very powerful lower incisors as stabbing devices. Again, these are monstrous stilettos for tearing, perhaps ripping open the prey. They had a whole range, a smorgasbord of things to eat at this time. This was in the end of the Pleistocene. There were giant kangaroos, 3 meters, or about 9 feet tall. There were giant wombats the size of a small horse. There was a whole range of things. Hippopotamus-sized marsupials, all of them yummy.
These marsupial lions roamed the Australian plains until just 30,000 years ago. By then, the Aboriginal people had already arrived, and almost certainly had some unfortunate encounters with the big pouched lions.
And I'm certain that would have been one of the most unpleasant sights any human being ever saw as they went into the great hunting ground, was to see one of these things coming up on them. To see an animal with bolt-cutting teeth the size of these things that could cut a leg off a kangaroo without even sort of batting an eye. The teeth, when they come together, are just like the kind of giant bolt cutters that you might find in any hardware store today.